They told her she was seeing things, just shadows, paranoia from too little sleep. But when the first rocket struck, it wasn't shadows. It was the ambush she had been warning about all along. And because she acted when nobody else would, 20 soldiers walked away from a fight they were never supposed to survive. This is the untold story of Sergeant Elena Marlowe, the soldier underestimated until the moment her vision saved an entire unit. Welcome to Truth Untwists, where we uncover stories of resilience, courage, and the hidden moments that change history. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button so you never miss one. Elena Marlowe was 30 years old, a forward observer stationed in southern Afghanistan. Her job was simple but critical: scan the valleys and hillsides, watch for patterns, and call in artillery if the enemy made a move. But to many around her, she was just the quiet observer. Her commanders saw her as a box-checked woman in a combat unit, there more for politics than for her skill. The infantrymen joked that she carried binoculars just to look busy. What they didn't know was that Elena had grown up in the Colorado Rockies with a father who taught her to hunt elk across ridgelines, where one wrong judgment meant an empty freezer. She had the kind of eyes that could pick out a coyote slipping through sagebrush at half a mile. Her instincts weren't learned from textbooks. They were forged in silence, wind, and survival. Observation posts were lonely places. High on a ridge above the valley, Elena had been on glass for 3 straight days, 72 hours with only catnaps to keep her sharp. Her spotter, Specialist Drew Hayes, tried to keep her awake with bad jokes and instant coffee, but fatigue gnawed at her. When she reported unusual patterns, locals avoiding certain goat trails, dogs barking at the same hour each night, and motorcycles riding strange patrols, her warnings were dismissed. "You're seeing ghosts, Sergeant," Major Collins told her in the Tactical Operations Center. "You need rack time, not more theories." The room chuckled. To them, she was just a tired soldier making noise. Elena kept her bearing, but inside she remembered another time, a deployment in Iraq where her warnings had been ignored. That time, 4 men died. She swore she would never let it happen again. It was 2:40 a.m. when Elena spotted them through her thermal, optic dark shapes, moving in perfect intervals along a dry riverbed. 12 of them at least, maybe more. Their spacing, their pace, it wasn't random. These weren't villagers out at night. These were fighters moving into position. Her spotter leaned closer. "They're not going to believe you, Sergeant. Major already thinks you're cracking up." Elena steadied her binoculars. The fighters melted into terrain depressions only trained eyes would notice. Every instinct screamed this was it, the attack everyone said wasn't coming. She had 2 choices: obey her chain of command and stay silent, or break every regulation drilled into her and call it in. She keyed her radio and switched frequencies to the battalion emergency net, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "All stations, this is Outpost Falcon. Enemy movement confirmed. 12+ fighters armed with RPGs and PKMS. Grid coordinates to follow. Attack imminent." The net exploded with chatter. Call signs demanded her ID. And then Major Collins' voice cut in, furious. "Falcon, you are not authorized on this frequency. Stand down." Before she could reply, the first RPG slammed into the barriers around the combat outpost below. The valley lit up with muzzle flashes. She had been right. Chaos swept the base. Soldiers scrambled from bunks half-dressed, grabbing weapons as machine gun fire tore into the perimeter. The quick reaction force tried to roll out, but heavy fire pinned them inside their motor pool. Elena didn't hesitate. She switched to the fire support net. "Steel battery, this is Falcon. Fire mission over." The artillery crew recognized her voice. They trusted her. Within seconds, she was walking 155mm shells onto the ridgeline, each call calm and precise. "Drop 200. Fire for effect." Explosions rippled across the hillside, shredding enemy positions that would have cut the base apart. Still, 3 machine gun nests kept the QRF trapped. Elena scanned the terrain. That's when she saw it, a dry creek bed linking all 3 nests, invisible from the base but clear from her high perch. If artillery hit that line, the nests would fall together. "Steel battery, Falcon. Adjust fire. Linear target, azimuth 4,700 mils, length 180 meters. Battery, 3 rounds, HE, in effect. The radio crackled. Shot over. She whispered, shot out, and counted the seconds. The shells burst in perfect sequence along the creek bed, collapsing the enemy's entire line of fire. Silence swept the valley for the first time in 20 minutes. The quick reaction force surged forward, retaking ground, pushing the attackers back. From her ridge, Elena tracked the fighters breaking contact, dragging casualties, scattering into the dark. She passed grid after grid to Apache helicopters that swooped in, finishing the fight. 17 minutes after the first RPG hit, it was over. 23 American soldiers were alive who might have died. The next morning, Lieutenant Colonel Barrett gathered the staff. His words were direct. Sergeant Marlowe's actions prevented a massacre. Her observation, her calls, and her fire missions were flawless. Then he turned to Major Collins, the man who had dismissed her. Your failure to act nearly cost us this unit. You're relieved of duty effective immediately. 3 months later, Elena stood at her promotion ceremony. The same soldiers who once joked about her now sought her advice. Specialist Hayes, her young spotter, had been permanently assigned as her partner. When the Army Times later covered the attack, her story was profiled as a case study in vigilance, instinct, and courage under pressure. But to Elena, it wasn't about medals or recognition. It was about keeping her promise that no soldier would die because her warnings were ignored again. Closing reflections. Elena Marlowe's story reminds us that sometimes the most important battles aren't against the enemy, but against the assumptions that blind us. Fatigue, doubt, and bias almost cost lives, but her resolve saved them. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes that strength isn't always loud and vigilance isn't always recognized until it matters most. Subscribe to Truth Untwists for more untold stories of courage, strategy, and the hidden truths of military history. Because the quietest eyes often see the dangers everyone else misses.